What's up, everybody? My name is Jason, and welcome to the SBA Trainwreck continues as the targeted Eidl advance rumors increase. It is Monday, July the 19th, 2021. Please do me a favor. Give this video a thumbs up, hashtag EIDL with your comments below. Once again, I ask you, please follow me on Twitter at TrySmallBiz. Username is SmallBizInc, where I'm duking it out right now. I just smacked Isabel Guzman, virtually, of course. With respect to the live venue grant, she's got another one of those soapbox stories, right? We saved so-and-so. Okay, what about the 60+% that have not gotten a fucking dime with respect to the live venue grant? No, by the way, as I just said in my tweet, how about millions more in middle-income communities that are still waiting on the $10,000 targeted Eidl advance? So, ladies and gentlemen, do me a favor. Pull up a chair. Grab a cup of coffee, ice-cold beer, glass of water. Here we go. All right, the Dow's down 910 points. Nothing to worry about there. Has nothing to do with COVID, in my opinion. The variant is contagious, but it's not nearly as deadly as the prior. So, look. It has a lot to do with the bond market, 10-year rates coming from 175 down to 122, which is indicative of potential recession, or as some have been saying in the news, stagflation. If you're old enough like me to remember the 1970s, we had a slowing economy and rising inflation. Mortgages back then got as high as 20%. Now I think they're 2.5%, 3%, 3.25%. So it was a very scary time. There were long lines at the gas station. That's not happening here, folks. We are in a secular bull market that is going to go on, from my opinion, for the next 10 or 15 years. It's probably going to be one of the biggest, if not the biggest, of all time due to zero interest rates or close to it, trillions of dollars of liquidity, the advent and maturation of artificial intelligence, and something we call demographics, because as of 6 months ago, the millennials and the Gen Xers are now dwarfing the size of the baby boomers, which were retiring at about 10,000 per day. And if you go back to 1984, that was a special year, kind of indicative to what's going on right now. Do your research. George Orwell, 1984 to 2000 was one of the strongest periods in the history of the stock market with respect to the United States of America. And we just entered the same type of demographic status in 2020, which should continue to somewhere around 2034 to 2035. If you overlap the charts from 1984 to 2000, it looks almost exactly like what we're seeing here today. But I'll talk more about that later, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to come down another 2 or 3%. 32,000-ish on the Dow is support, somewhere around 240 on the QQQs, and about 200 to 205 on the IWM, which is the Russell 2000. I know I just put most of you to sleep, but we'll talk about more of that later. In the meantime, I did a poll over the weekend. We have over 300 of your fellow small business owners that said, yes, I have called or emailed or had a conversation with an SBA agent or my own loan officer, and they told me in very clear terms that at some point, end of this month, beginning of August, they're going to open up the targeted Eidl advance to everybody. Folks, if it was 4 or 5 people or even 40 or 50 people, I could say, okay, they're pulling our leg. They're full of shit. But when you have over 300, and I invite you to read the comments on the last video, which are more than 2,000 comments. Thank you very much for those who participated. There's some outrageous stories. In fact, one of them I want to read to you is a comment from a senator's office, which will explain why it's taken so damn long with respect to the 24 months of working capital. So here's what you need to know to get your week started. If you read through the comments as I have, and you read the emails I've gotten in the last 72 hours, we have a number of problems at the SBA. What a surprise. There has been a massive amount of people quit since the Office of Disaster Assistance turned over the Eidl program to the same outfit that handled PPP last year. I'm going to estimate dozens, maybe even hundreds of them have quit. And if you read some of the comments, some of you were in reconsideration, or you were dealing with a loan officer that suddenly disappeared. Or your loan officer said, well, I no longer handle your account now. It's been handed off to another department, right? If that's you, step into the comments below. So we have massive turnover. We have huge amounts of stress. We have the mass decline from last week due to the inactives, right? I have my theories as to what's going on here. You know what my theory is? They're so fucking far behind with respect to 24 months of working capital. They didn't release the Eidl loan report like they were supposed to on Friday. I wonder why that is. They're so far behind, but it's kind of a sneaky way to say, you know what? Why don't we just mass decline 4, 5, 6, 700,000 people to shake the tree? to get rid of the ones that are not paying attention, and the ones that bark like hell, most of you, then will handle their loans in the order we receive the complaints. Because it's something just doesn't add up to me here. They did something similar to this with respect to the advance about 6 months ago. I think this was a calculated move. I don't think it was an accident. I think it was a calculated move for them to jerk the system, and only those that are going to bark, the squeaky wheel is going to get the oil, are the ones that are going to assign to the new department. Because it seems to me, slow down, Jason. It seems to me like when they handed off hundreds of thousands, maybe even over 1 million applications, it's mass confusion. So the new department said, all right, why don't we just touch off an inactivity email and see who's really paying the fuck attention, and whoever screams and hollers at us first, we'll handle those in the order that were received. Because there seemed to be something that's just not right. So I'm digging into that. Somebody tell me in the comments, do you think that's possible, that it was an intentional, not an accident, to see who's paying attention, i.e. who really wants to get their loans funded in a timely fashion? Because as Builder pointed out, rightly so in his recent video, there's no fucking way as of last week, 51,000 out of upwards of 2 million applications, rumor on the street with respect to targeted Eidl advance, or excuse me, the 24 months of working capital. There's no way they're going to get through it by the end of this year, which is when the program is supposed to end. They're going to end up extending this to the end of 2022. So look, I wish I had better advice, but here's the silver lining. I, along with the other channels, and you know who they are, God bless each and every single one of them, have been letting the SBA's ass on fire for many, many months. Over a year, but in the last several months in particular, with respect to the targeted Eidl advance and now the 24 months of working capital. Then we had the investigative reporters, Patrick Terpstra, Stacey Cowley over at the New York Times, Andrew, Mr. New, his first name escapes me, at CBS. You know who they are. They're starting to come out of the woodwork and say, wait a second here. It's not just the SBA accusing people of being dead or backed up on child support. They are not paying attention to millions of middle-income families that are already in the queue. Why are they going out and buying mailing lists and trying to advertise on the radio and in local markets to bring in low-income voters when they could help millions of small middle-income families that have been sitting there for the last 16 months going, will somebody please help me? $10,000 as a retired or disabled veteran, thank you for serving this country, is a big fucking deal. So I would like my money, especially since I have served my country. I was willing to give my own life in service of country, and the federal government and the SBA is not going to give me the $10,000 of the balance I was promised in the CARES Act. That's a bunch of fucking bullshit, and we all know it. But allow me to read as I try to settle down. My mother's piping it. She's like, you're going to have a stroke like I did. My mother died of a stroke in 2015 in her mid-60s. Kind of scary. So I hear you, Ma. I'll settle down. She usually pipes in when I'm about to get nasty and say something a little XXX. But now she's telling me to settle down or else I'm going to have a stroke. I get worked up. I grew up 5 minutes from the 10th Mountain Division of Fort Drum, New York, and I love our veterans. We may as well include every man and woman or child that's wearing a uniform all the way down to the Boy Scouts. I have tremendous respect for those that serve our country, no matter what the uniform is, no matter what the branch of military we deserve. I hear you. We owe them a tremendous debt of gratitude, and the fact that we are not giving these folks the money that they were promised just lights my ass on fire. But let me explain to you, word for word, I'm going to read this out loud without mentioning this person's name or the senator that's involved. There's 3 groups that are lighting the SBA on fire, and it's a good thing. It's us, it's the investigative reporters, but now it's the senators, congressmen, and women, the staff in particular. This is what's going on in huge numbers. I've gotten probably 20 emails to this effect, and you can see comments like this on the last video I did. 5 weeks ago, and I'm now reading from this person's comment. I'm not going to mention her name. 5 weeks ago, I asked our senator for help. I filled out all the forms and released all the information. I heard nothing. Then last Thursday, I asked for an update and copied the chief of staff of the senator. I just got this. So this is 5 weeks after. Again, you got to be persistent. You got to keep calling and keep emailing. 5 weeks after her initial outreach to get the privacy release form, which gives the congressman or woman or your senator power of attorney to push the SBA. Say, hey, I have a constituent. They just sent me an email saying they're not getting their targeted Eidl advance, or they've been waiting 4 or 5 months for the 24 months of capital. What the hell is going on? Here is what the senator's staff member, without mentioning a name, said in response 5 weeks later. We appreciate you making us aware of your business concerns, and we have submitted an inquiry to the SBA regarding this matter. The SBA is currently extremely backlogged in responding to congressional inquiries. They have gone from having a small handful of congressional inquiries from an individual office, often less than 10 a year. Think about that. Less than 10 privacy release form requests per office per year, to hundreds now at a time due to the pandemic, which is causing frustrating delays in response times. We will continue to follow up with the SBA. As soon as we have anything, we will let you know. Your patience is greatly appreciated. Thank you, so-and-so. So look, I know this is deeply troubling and extremely frustrating for many of you that have not gotten your money. Doesn't matter if you're a low-income person and you're waiting on your $10,000 or your $5,000 supplemental, or you're like many that are in 24 months of working capital limbo. But the good news, and I can't stress this enough, this is going to help us not only get this done or resolved, like say get rid of the 4506T requirements or outsource this to somebody that can go a hell of a lot fucking faster than the SBA. But if it ever comes down to a lawsuit, and I'm predicting you're going to see one within 30 days from multiple law firms, you're going to be able to say, I called the SBA and I emailed them 47 times. My senator sent him a privacy release form request and bothered him for 7 weeks, and we still couldn't get a fucking answer. And when we're in the court of law and there's hundreds or even thousands of examples like that, there's going to be no way in the hell that the SBA is going to stand a chance in hell of winning that lawsuit. So here's what it's going to mean in the end. In my opinion, not a fucking guarantee. I believe everyone, because of all these cars that are piling up, is going to get 10 grand regardless of where you live, especially if you're within a stone's throw of a low-income community, or the map itself, as Speak and See has pointed out dozens of times now, is just flat out fucking incorrect. And in respect to the 24 months of working capital, now that we have us, we have investigative reporters, and now the Senate, Congress, congressional staff know how fucked up and backed up it is at the SBA. They don't stand a chance in the court of law. So until next time, I know this is frustrating, but you got to hang in there and trust that all of us together, 1, 2, and 3, pounding away, are going to get you your money, whether it's 10, 5, or 24 months of working capital as soon as possible. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, wow, for a Monday morning, I hear you, Ma. Got to settle down. Got to settle down. Don't want to have a stroke. Got a lot of things going on. I love each and every one of you guys, and thanks so much for watching.